If you're making extra money each month, should you be paying off your mortgage or other long-term debt faster, or should you be investing that money? This video came across my FYP today from this lovely creator. She had stitches turned off, which is totally fine. But I wanted to respond because she brought up a really good point and she made a really beautiful Excel spreadsheet showing her point. So she is talking about her mortgage. She's got this much remaining on her mortgage. She pays $1,755 a month. Her interest rate is 2.99%, which is super low. And she has been making extra money on TikTok and wanted to see what it would look like if she put that extra money each month, pretending like it's going to be $1,253.05 every month towards the mortgage going forward. How much faster would she pay it off? And it came down to, she would save a little over $82,000 in interest and have the loan paid off by 2036, 151 months ahead of schedule. That sounds awesome, right? And for some people that is, and it's perfect, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that strategy. However, if you have a similar situation where you have extra money each month and you want to know what your options are, what can you do with that extra money? Is it the most financially beneficial to pay off your mortgage rather than invest that money? What are the numbers? What makes sense? That's what I wanted to share and do, show you a couple of calculations that make this really, really clear. So again, this is based on the fact, especially because her interest rate is at 2.99% on her mortgage. If that mortgage was 7 or 8%, this calculation would not work as well. But since this is a really low interest rate, and the average return on the stock market historically has been between 8 and 10% per year. That does not mean that it returns 8 or 10% every single year. Some years it's terrible. Some years it's way more than that. But the average over a long period of time is that 8 to 10% range. So since we have that difference, this is about 3%, average is about 8%. What happens if you invest that money instead of pay down debt? So let's start here with this amortization calculator, and we will see that in this loan, I put in some assumptions of what it would be. If we get it to, it's really close, it's not exact, but it's really close. This amortization calculator shows what the loan will be at if she didn't pay any extra. So it would be at $217,000.31 in 2036. That would be the remaining balance at that time that she would have to pay if she did not pay any extra towards the loan. So we already saw that if she puts that $1,253 per month towards the mortgage, it'll pay it off by 2036, and she'll have saved just over $82,000 in interest in that time, right? Which sounds amazing. And it is. It's really, really great. But what happens instead if we put that $1,253 per month into an investment account and let it go, be invested in the market? So this is one of my favorite websites to do just really quick compound interest calculations. It's investor.gov. And it's a really, really easy to use little process here. So if we put in, our initial investment is $0. The monthly contribution is $1,253. And we're going to do 12 years. It's 2024. She would have 12 years till 2036. And that's in her calculation, right? So what happens if she pays that $1,253 into the mortgage? She saves $82,000 over time, right? She saves $82,000 in interest. But what if instead we do $1,253 into an investment account for that same amount of time for 12 years, and she is earning an estimated 8% interest rate over time? Now, one thing that investor.gov will do, you can also do your interest rate variance range. So what happens if it, returns 10% per year or 6% per year? It's above or below. So if we let it go, do quarterly compounding, we'll see that what happens is that in 12 years, she would have, at 8% interest over time, $298,289.88. Even if you look down here below at the variance below at 6%, even if it's a lower average over time, it's $261,495 in that same time. So this is literally the same time frame. If she invests it at 6%, we'll go with the lower amount, she'll have 261,000, almost 261,500 in investment money, where she would have only saved just over $82,000 in interest over that same period of time. If we go back to this amortization schedule, we'll see that she would actually have, even at the lower interest rate at 6% per year, she would have $261,000, and she only owes at that time $217,000 on the mortgage. So if she does this, if she invests that money, she would literally have $44,000 more than her mortgage costs at that time. She could literally take $217,000, pay off the mortgage fully at that time, still save a whole bunch of interest because she's still paying off her mortgage early, and have $44,000 left in her investment account if she were to do this way instead. Now let's take it even a step further and say, what if she doesn't pay off the mortgage? What if she just pays the mortgage, lets it go, takes advantage of that 2.99% interest rate, and does that $1,253 contribution for 32 years? Let's say she just keeps it going. She's like, I can do this. This is great. I'm going to save for another 20 years on top of my mortgage. She looked really young. So, let's say she has that much time before she turns, 60 years old. If she saves that $1,253 every month for 32 years, and then, same 8% interest rate, 2% variance, what you can see is that this turns into something really significant. We got to get over to there we go. At the 8% rate, the 8% average, it's over $2 million. It's almost $2.2 million in 32 years' time. And even at 6%, it's $1.4 million or $1,434,000. The 10% is even higher, right? So even if we look at the 8 or 6%, the lower amounts, we can see that if she saves that amount every single month for the next 32 years, that's a really significant retirement savings or anything savings in whatever kind of investment account that you use. What if instead she pays off the mortgage and she puts that $1,253 towards the mortgage for 12 years, right? Gets it all paid off, and then the mortgage is at zero. Well, wouldn't she just be able to then start saving what she has been paying towards the mortgage, towards retirement or towards something else? Wouldn't that work just as well? That is where the math gets crazy. So remember, what we just saw is that at 8% interest, if she saves that $1,253 per month for 32 years, she's going to have around $2.2 million at 8%. And that's saving just that $1,253 per month. If instead she saves this $3,008 for 20 years, so it's technically the same time frame, same investment rate, all of that, since she doesn't have as much time in it, it's $400,000 less. It's so crazy what the time investment does, because this is literally, she's saving more. She's using more of her money because now it's $3,000 a month, not $1,253. It's for the same, length of time. She'll end at the same age, but instead of almost $2.2 million at that 8% interest rate, she's only got 1.75, which might still sound great to you, right? You might be like, yeah, that's no problem. Why would you be complaining? But the issue is that she's actually saving more. It's costing more, $3,000 a month, rather than $1,253. So it's more money out of pocket, and she has less in savings over time. So if you've ever wondered why the recommendation is typically to save rather than pay off debt faster if you have a really good interest rate, a really low interest rate, that's why. That's the math that backs it all up. What do you think? I would love to hear your thoughts.